Most important in a job like this is that everyone gets home safe.
Today on Heroes of the Deep.
Ready for diving?
I'm now at the mast and diving.
All right, time is running.
You can't get it in. What kind of bullshit is this?
Will this work, or could it work?
Now you can slowly start to detach. And remember, don't drop anything. The crane is about to give in.
A new mission for the Baltic Sea divers crew. Today they will sail with the company's own floating crane, Baltic Lift, to the Darß Ridge, 82 kilometers away from Rostock. Here, a measuring station of the Institute for Baltic Sea Research has to be lifted out of the water and transferred to land.
Morning.
Preparations in the home port of Rostock are already in full swing, and the divers are already settling in.
I have a blanket now. There. I'll take the blue one. And towels? Also in blue. It all has to be of the same color, of course.
The operators of the measuring mast to be recovered are also on board. They operate several measuring platforms in the North Sea and Baltic Sea and thus obtain data on water temperature, salinity and surface currents of the sea, among other things.
My name is Robert Mast. I'm an engineer at the Institute for Baltic Sea Research Warnemünde. My task is to take care of the autonomous measuring platform. The mast, Darß here, needs maintenance.
The Baltic Lift is ready to set sail. The journey to the Darß Ridge takes a good 10 hours. The measuring mast is located there because the Darß Ridge represents an ecological barrier. The nature of the seabed there impedes the exchange of water between the North Sea and the Baltic Sea, and that has consequences. The less fresh North Sea water reaches the Baltic Sea. The worse the living conditions of the underwater world on the right side of the Darß Ridge.
This mast has been here since 1992, when it was still a test phase. Since the beginning of 1993, we've been recording data in our database. It's been 28 years. We were able to determine that within these 28 years, the water has warmed by about 2 degrees, on average. These are the facts that we can record here.
This makes the mast an extremely important indicator of the progress of climate change and the state of health of the Baltic Sea. Every 10 years, the 30-metre-long measuring device must be put ashore for maintenance.
The belt there?
Yes, stop! Wow, this thing is heavy. Take the belt. Once more. This is good. We'll secure it further later.
The measuring mast recovery is led by technician Frank and diving operation leader Andreas.
We were here at 6 o'clock, lowered the piles, then waited half an hour for the piles to hold so that the ship would stop. It's for the diver's safety. But the difficulty is always when you are at sea and standing on stilts. When you have passing ferries, there's usually a swell, because they also thunder past at a certain speed. Then the whole device starts to move, which is also quite tricky for the crane operator. We're now looking further ahead. The next step will be people coming down from the mast, we prepare the dive, and at the same time, the lifting traverse.
A complex salvage process with quite a few risk factors and obstacles.
Peter, where do we want to put the man basket? Behind? Want to ride?
No, I've no ticket.
No ticket. Okay, be careful.
Have you checked the helmet yet? Do some communication. The reserve? Check the helmet. Can you hear me? Problem is that we only have a short weather window, which has now shortened, which means it will get worse for us sooner. We don't really care about the wind. The problems are the waves. We have 21 meters water depth here, and our piles are 23 meters. The problem is that we're still stable at the moment, but as soon as we get a 1 meter wave or a bit more, we are no longer stable. The green line is the limit to let down. As you can see, we still have just under a meter. That's our wiggle room. That's why we have to hurry, so that we can finish quickly. It's important that it's stable. The dive is in the water at 21 meters. And there's still a danger that we damage the measuring mast.
In addition, each diver must carefully check his equipment before each dive. Time pressure must not matter.
We have to connect the reserve once for the reserve check.
Okay, alles klar.
All clear. I have to go out and get the diver sorted.
Dive leader Andreas has to keep many balls in the air at the same time today, but his main responsibility, as always, lies with the diver.
We have currents here. If the current is too strong, we must get the diver out of the water again, wait whether the current settles a bit, and then he can dive again. But it shouldn't be a problem.
The dive must be thoroughly prepared.
My task now is to dive down to the measuring pole to check if there's anything on the ground below that could fall on our heads when we lift it out. And then we go up to the mast and attach 2 shackles there.
Look at this swell crap. It's annoying. Andy starts?
Yeah, everything's green.
Green? Let's go then. Come here, my fluffy.
1, 2, 3, loud and clear.
Diver Jan gets the vital air supply from on board via the hose attached to his helmet. He also has a reserve cylinder on his back for emergencies. He only has to breathe himself.
Andy, the reserve is checked. You have reserves, main air opens. Main air should be present.
Jawohl, Hauptluft geht auf.
Hauptluft sollte anliegen.
Main air is present. Helmet closes.
I'll make the call out, Andy.
Ja, call out.
He's wearing the suit. He has foot weights. He's secured. 1, 2, 3, 4. He has 210 bars.
Reserveluft ist auf, halber Schlag zurück, Schlauch und Leine ist eingehängt und gesichert. Hinten rechts.
Reserve check was done. His helmet was attached. Lock 1, 2, and 3. Now he's ready for dive.
Damit ist ready for dive.
Okay, green light for the diver.
Do the light check again.
Mach mal Lichtcheck noch mal kurz. Ja, Helmlicht, beide Lampen gehen.
You can turn it off again. Jan, tell me when you go down.
Yes, I will, but first I'll swim to the mast over the surface and then I'll go down.
Und geh dann direkt am Mast runter.
Jawohl.
Yes, sir.
Jan saves his valuable diving time because the deeper he dives for his job, the shorter the time he can spend there. The pressure conditions underwater could otherwise cause damage to his health.
Bin jetzt am Mast
I'm now at the mast and diving.
und tauch jetzt ab.
Alles klar, Zeit läuft.
Time is running.
Zeit läuft.
Looks like the Caribbean.
Except these are not corals, but thick mussel growth. At a diving depth of 3 meters, it's time to stop and take measurements.
Did you bring a folding rule?
Ja, hab ich.
Measure once above the eye.
Ja.
The eye is the attachment point for the recovery chains.
Neun Zentimeter.
9 centimeters. That's all I need to know. This is the measuring mast underwater. Overgrown, of course. It just goes down to 21 meters. We will check the water depth when he's down because it's decisive for the table. Then we will see how it looks down there.
Taucher auf Grund.
Diver on the bottom,
Leg dich mal hin, ich mach mal
lay down, ready to go.
Jo, Luft sollte kommen.
Air should come. Yes, we have 20 meters
Wir haben
here.
hier 20 Meter.
All good.
Alles gut.
Okay.
Okay.
The measuring device in the container is used to measure the diver's breathing air pressure at the bottom. This pressure corresponds to the water pressure of the respective diving depth. An extremely important factor because Andreas uses it to divide up the remaining working time of the diver underwater.
According to our diving table, we have no decompression time. No decompression time means that the time from the moment I put the helmet underwater and come out again. That is the no decompression time, and it's 40 minutes here. And if we have to extend the dive for any reason, then there are diving stages, and these diving stages are there to practically breathe out the nitrogen that you have accumulated at the water depth. This is called water decompression.
If normal decompression is not possible in an emergency, the diver enters the pressure chamber. Here, the ambient pressure can be controlled and the nitrogen content in the body can be exhaled. Otherwise, it can be fatal.
The most important thing in such a job is that everyone gets home safe.
Du hast hier auch eine ziemlich dicke Schlamm- oder
The diver has to find his way in muddy water.
Fundament.
Wie dick ungefähr?
Wollen wir Licht an, bitte?
The object is covered with a 20 centimeter thick layer of mud.
Gute 20 Zentimeter.
20 Zentimeter Schlammschicht, ja?
Ja. Guck dann einmal drumherum, ob irgendwas drauf liegt.
Ja.
Andy, when he comes up later, he'll check up on this surface again. He mentioned 9 centimeters. That would be more than 50 tons. We won't manage that.
I'll let him measure that again.
It should be up there.
Exactly.
It should be 5 centimeters. 20 tons makes sense, but 50 would be enormous.
50 instead of 20 tons of weight would end the working operation prematurely. Baltic Lift's crane could not lift this load. Either the client's specifications are not correct, or diver Jan didn't measure properly at the eye of the mast. Change of location to the ferry port of Sassnitz on the Baltic Sea island of Rügen. Another crew of the Baltic Sea divers travels by truck today. It's loaded with diving equipment and the watermen, Toby and Eric.
Who's doing the dive today? Me? Why do I even ask? We're at this ship today. The ship has finished its project and the surveyor's equipment is still attached underwater. Our task today is to get the equipment back.
Eric learns the details from the Baltic Explorer's engineer. A 60-kilo sonar is mounted underneath the ship, which can be used to survey the seabed and detect objects. A diver cannot recover this weight by hand, and there's no crane on board, but there is a plan.
Okay, yeah, that's all we need to know.
I just talked to the boss and looked down in the engine room how everything looks. You can see that here too, on this cross strut, there is a shackle with a rope. They have a pulley and can hold it from the inside with it. That means if I unscrew it little by little, the one at the bottom gets a radio. We can tell him to lower it. I can instruct him. There's one from the ship next to him and he can then lower it little by little. Right, I'll get changed now.
It's about time. We eat early, you know. My mother cooked.
And she probably also chose Eric's socks today. Nope, he does that himself.
Today I'm wearing the party hamster socks, which I wanted for a long time, but they were too expensive for me at 15 euros, so a friend gave them to me as a birthday gift. You have to counteract the testosterone here.
Can the testosterone still locate the party hamsters through all that rubber?
He mentioned the 27 wrench, didn't he?
There are no special tools for use underwater. The wrenches are the same as on land.
Do you want to tie a leash to it, or can you do without?
The two are joking about their skills with tools.
If you then say don't drop, obviously then it happens. And always when you have no substitute. You hang in nice, get out of here. 3 p.m. at the latest, we want to leave the yard.
Mr. Diver, may I put the weights on you? Normally you always do it yourself, but...
The youngest Baltic sea diver gets the full VIP program today.
Dive leader communication check, 1, 2, 3.
Yes, I hear you loud and clear. Main air is coming in.
The next dive is about to start. There are only a few issues with the camera to be sorted.
Not yet. Wait, Eric. Let's see if we can bend the camera a bit higher.
Aber das ging eigentlich mit dem Winkel so. Den kann runter, ne? Ja.
So far, so good. But there are still a few surprises waiting for Eric in the harbour basin. Back at the Darß Ridge with diver Jan. He inspects the base plate of the measuring mast, which is about to be recovered at a depth of 21 meters.
You didn't find anything on it, right? Did you swim around it?
Ich habe jetzt in beide Richtungen einmal rumgeguckt und es ist nichts zu erkennen.
Jan swam around it, but couldn't see anything.
Da ist nicht viel zu sehen.
Ja, du musst ein bisschen sauber fummeln da.
Even the cardon joints look normal. Eric asks him to clean the surface a little.
Das sieht aber alles ganz gut aus, oder?
Ja, das
But
ist
it seems that at least in this area, everything is all right.
Sieht soweit alles schick aus. Mach hier oben nochmal beim oberen Teil.
We're currently inspecting the cardon joints to see if there's any damage. It doesn't make sense to try to lift it out when the thing stays down, the base plate. That's why we're checking to see if the joint is okay. But everything looks good. First he cleans it up a bit with his hand and then he dives back to the attachment points.
Soll man ein bisschen durch die Strömung den Mullen wegziehen lassen, aber so, was ich sehen kann.
The two agree that there is no need to check this area anymore.
Ja, okay, alles klar. Also wenn unten nichts drauf liegt auf der Grundplatte, dann kannst du langsam an dem Mast wieder auftauchen. Bis zu den Anschlagpunkten.
A few more measurements and the dive was successful.
Auf den Kopf fällt aber.
Okay, alles klar.
Dann gehe ich hoch zu den Anschlagpunkten, mach die ein bisschen sauber.
Die müssen wir noch mal genau ausmessen, ne? Von der Breite und von dem Loch.
Jawohl, kriegen wir hin.
The diver now climbs up 17 meters to the attachment points of the recovery chains.
Und du bist jetzt
You're now at 3 meters water depth.
Jawohl, 3 Meter Wassertiefe.
Ja, erstmal richtig schön sauber machen, dass wir das Ding komplett.
Again, Eric asks Jan to clean the surface. A few measurements need to be taken.
Die Seite ist so weit gereinigt, dass wir einmal messen können.
Ja, dann messen wir einmal
Eric
bitte
wants
die
Jan to
Breite
find
von
some
dem
anchor
Halsauge
points
da
because they have to connect their shackles at some point.
und das Loch von dem Schäkelbolzen.
Ja. Wie gesagt, die breiteste Stelle ist 9 Zentimeter.
9 centimeters, copy.
Genau, an der breitesten Stelle.
Okay, und den Schäkelbolzen einmal.
Das geht aber so, ne?
But it goes like this.
7,5 Zentimeter.
Na, der läuft ja so konisch.
Yes, it's conical, right?
Zusammen da, ne?
Ah, ich habe auch nicht die Außenkante genommen, sondern ich habe hier schon versucht, die Innenkante zu messen.
7 sagst du.
Ja,
9 and 7 centimeters.
genau.
7 Zentimeter.
Ja, geh mal rüber.
Try to find some other attachment points. That's simply too large.
Weil die sind nämlich zu groß für unsere Schäkel.
Aha. Aber das sind laut Zeichnung die Anschlagpunkte.
Ja, ich weiß. Deswegen
That's why I'm asking you to check for others.
Ja.
Das Problem ist, wir
The problem is we have shackles here for 20 tons. A shackle has the load capacity of 20 tons, but the attachment points are wider. That means the shackle doesn't fit over them.
Anschlagpunkte sind breiter, das heißt, der Schäkel passt nicht da drüber.
That's what we're trying to determine right now. Because Frankie just said that it doesn't fit. We have to see.
Und naja, mal gucken.
According to the technical data sheet, 20 tons of shackles should be sufficient to recover the measuring mast. But paper is more patient than the maximum load of the crane.
Do we have a shackle for it?
Ja, pass auf, ich habe einen Schäkelbolzen, ich würde ihn erst gerne mal...
We have a shackle pin.
Jetzt müsste entweder kommt er hoch, holt sich
das
den,
holen, ja.
aber der
You
ist
can
nicht
get it, but it is quite heavy.
so einfach, ne? Muss er sich das Ding ein bisschen rüber, muss er mal ein bisschen Flossenschlag machen.
Du, ja.
Jan?
Ja.
We now have a shackle pin. You'll have to check whether it fits. The problem is, it's heavy.
Ja.
Das Problem bei der Nummer ist, der ist nicht ganz so leicht.
Ist alles nicht so das Problem.
Ja, du musst dann,
You have to swim a bit like Flipper, so you don't sink.
dass du nicht untergehst.
If the shackle pin really does not fit through the eye, the entire salvage operation would have to be aborted. The Baltic divers took their cue from the customer's datasheet and packed the shackles specifically for that. It was not foreseeable that they would now be faced with this challenge.
You can't get it in. Bullshit.
Was ist das für ein Schwachsinn?
Durchmesser passt er.
Was sagst du?
Ich sag, vom Durchmesser passt er. Das Problem ist bloß hier die...
Die Länge,
It's the length, right?
Ja, der Schäkel nicht, das Knieblech.
Try it from the other side.
We'll have exactly the same problem.
Soll das Gleiche sein?
Da haben wir genau dasselbe Problem.
What a load of crap.
Was ist das für ein Scheiß?
Ja.
Kann er den Bolzen mal drehen irgendwie?
Can you turn it?
Kannst du den Bolzen mal drehen irgendwie?
Mit der flachen Kante, weißt
Hab ich
du?
ja versucht. Also das geht ja nur in einer Position.
Meinst du,
Do you think you can get it through with a hammer?
Oder
or
eher
not?
weniger?
Doch,
There you go. It's in.
der ist drin.
Can you get a nut on there?
Darauf?
Ja, das könnte auch was werden.
Ja, wird das was oder könnte
Will it work or could it work?
Chris, musst du den Schäkelbolzen erst
If you can't do it, push the bolt through first. Try to get it out. Leave the shackle bolt there.
Oder versuch ihn mal wieder rauszukriegen.
Ist draußen.
Wir lassen den Schäkelbolzen dort liegen und...
Prepare the crossbeam and bring it into position.
That's how we'll do it.
wieder?
The whole operation seems rather complicated.
So, Peter?
Enough of that, the crew on deck finally gets to work.
Ja, das sind immer so
You have to be
Sachen.
flexible for such
Das
things.
ist doch alles ein bisschen anders, da muss man eben flexibel sein. Ja, das Maß
Everything is
unten ist
different,
natürlich
and
nicht
we
so
now have to
vorgegeben.
take a larger
10
shackle
Millimeter,
because the diver has to fiddle a
aber wir
bit.
haben eine Lösung gefunden. Mussten jetzt einen Schäkel austauschen, der ein
High
kleines
effort,
bisschen
bigger
größer ist.
shackle. Proper work.
Und das wird für den Taucher jetzt natürlich ein bisschen gefummelt, umso schwerer der Schäkel, umso mehr ist.
But the boy can do it. He can do it.
Aber das kriegt er hin, der Junge. Das schafft er.
Let's go. We'll bring the shackles now.
Okay, copy that.
Copy that.
We can already see them.
Keep the neck a bit closer, otherwise you'll get to the solar panels.
Sonst kommen wir an die Solarplatten ran. So ist gut. Wunderbar.
Rahn, stopp.
Stop!
Rahn, stopp.
Stop!
Stopp, Peter.
Peter!
Peter, stopp. Wir warten mal noch eine
We wait a
Sekunde, bis
second
das,
until the swell has settled.
Ja, okay, alles gut.
Warten, bis der Schwell sich gelegt hat und dann geht's los.
Okay, langsam 4.
Okay, slowly.
Stopp, erstmal.
Weil wir oben eine Traverse haben.
We have the crossbars at the top. The chains hang into the water like this. You have to swim to it and put the pin through. When that happens, everything is good. You need quite a lot of strength for that.
Bisschen was in der Weste haben.
The shackle weighs about 20 kilograms, plus the strong current, a feat of strength for diver Jan.
Kann er noch ein kleines Stück vieren?
Ja, Moment. Peter, kannst du noch
Peter?
ein kleines Stück 4?
A little more.
Stopp.
Stop.
Ist ein Stopp. Das Problem bei der ganzen Sache ist,
The problem is you have to swim permanently. Always swim against it. You have the chain's weight.
du hast die Last von der Kette,
And you have to put the bolt in the hole. It's a bit tricky,
und es muss vom Loch passen. Das ist schon ein bisschen... das ist
but
schon
one
einfach.
can
Das ist ein
manage.
bisschen tricky, ne? Aber es sollte man eigentlich hinkriegen.
It's still a bit of a struggle.
Fehlt sich da zwar ein bisschen.
Erste ist drinne.
The first shackle is placed and shackle number 2 is lowered. The current becomes stronger.
Is it in?
Wie bitte?
Hast du drin?
Ich habe ihn drin, schraube jetzt die Mutter auf.
Jo.
Danach
The operation is anything but easy.
und dann.
Frankie?
Frankie?
Ja, hört.
Er hat den zweiten
He has the second shackle bolt in now. He's still working on the nut.
Okay.
Der erste Schägel, zweiter Schägel. Beide jeweils verschraubt und gesichert.
Ja, dreh mal die...
Film the other shackle again.
Das ist der Zwischenschäkel.
Nee,
No, not this one.
Ne?
Nee, den
I've
will ich
seen
nicht
it
sehen.
now.
Das hab ich
The
jetzt
other
gesehen,
side.
Die andere Seite.
Das wollte ich dir jetzt auch zeigen.
Okay, ja gut, da ist er ja.
Eric and Jan make sure they don't overlook anything important. The shackles need to be secured properly. After all, a lot of weight is involved.
Sicherungsdraht,
Ja,
Zwischenschäkel auch gesichert
ja.
und Haken, der in die Traverse geht.
Jo, alles klar. Okay, Jan, dann kannst
Okay,
du
Jan, you can
auftauchen,
come back.
dann kommst du zurück.
Jawohl, Taucher taucht auf und kommt langsam zurück. Taucher an der Leiter.
Jan was underwater for a total of 40 minutes. 10 minutes of that time, he was at a depth of 20 meters.
Hauptluft ist zu.
Main air's closed.
Hauptluft ist zu.
Main air closed, deck air on. After his diving workout, Jan feels
Soweit ganz gut.
So far, so good, even if I may not look like it. Because the shackles are a little heavier, it's a small feat of strength. But it works. If you do a lot of strength training, you can do it.
Unfortunately, the next problem cannot be solved with force. There is no way the mast can be recovered like this. In the ferry port of Sassnitz, diver Eric goes through his tools again. To be able to work hands-free, he has a magnet with a load capacity of 150 kilograms. Once again, he's thought of everything. Almost.
Du, das ist ein Plastikschiff.
I just heard that this is a plastic ship.
Ja.
You can bring the magnet, but it probably won't hold.
Ganz bewachsen, der Eimer, doch. Ganz vergessen, Plastik.
Ja, Sie meinen
The
gerade
base
vielleicht die
plate might
Grundplatte,
be
dass
made
die
of steel.
Stahl ist.
Ja, der Platte hier wird es halten, denke ich.
Well, there you go.
Die
The base plate of this surveying equipment is made of steel. He put a magnet on it with a connecting line, and then he can let himself sink in,
Man kann sich quasi reinsacken
so
lassen.
he can work in peace. You must first attach the leash somewhere.
The blue line comes from inside the ship and is supposed to hold the 60-kilo sonar when Eric has dismantled all the screws.
Bit more.
Stop! Stop!
Yes, he stopped.
Dann ziehen es drin auf
Now he
Höhe,
should
machen sie
pull
das
the
ab.
inside so we don't have to intercept from the outside.
So sind
Now
wir
we're
glücklich.
happy. There is tension now.
Okay. Geht auf Tension.
There are two lines coming down from the starboard side, each with a shackle.
To do this, Eric has to briefly dive to the surface once.
Do you want to take them both down right away or one at a time?
You take two.
The sonar will later be hoisted up the right outer side of the ship on these cables.
You can slowly start to untie it. And remember, don't drop anything. And you have to loosen the lock nut first.
Diving trainee Eric is easily annoyed, but family man Toby has experience with that. He remains professional and caring.
I don't need to tell you that it's best to leave two opposite ones in, right? Take them out last. Sometimes. He should loosen all except for two single nuts which are opposite, so he can make sure that we're ready inside. Then he loosens the last two nuts and then they're lowered. He says he needs about 10 to 15 more minutes.
In total, the plate of the sonar is fixed by 10 screws with 2 nuts each.
There you can see what happens when he always turns in one direction and never follows with the key. He ties in the leash nicely. Why didn't you take a ratch down with you?
Especially not when they are even right.
You will lose the last two nuts. Okay.
You can untie them. It's on tension.
Platte kommt runter.
You should probably detach the magnet now. Detach yourself from the magnet and leave the magnet there. We can get it back later. They're holding that on tension from the top now. He loosened everything. Now they're easing the line from the top.
To loosen the last screw, Eric has to hold onto the sonar with one hand. And then it happens. But the main thing is that the diver is fine. Everything else can be salvaged and repaired if necessary.
Helmet goes off.
For the crew on deck, accidentally sinking the sonar made the job a little harder.
I thought the rod I attached it to belonged to the plate, but it didn't. It belonged to the mounting flange on the ship itself. So the multi-beam just went down. I was surprised when it went down. I just caught the last nut, but I shouldn't have held on to it. It was already hanging on the ropes, so nothing should have happened. It should have come up safely, I think.
Woulda, shoulda, think so. Not necessarily the motto of the Baltic Sea divers, but Eric still thinks he's pretty good.
Somebody has to pat me on the back. If I don't do it, nobody will. You would have done it too?
Well, definitely.
Of course, the two diving models stick together. Being a celebrity connects.
That is indeed true. We're both famous.
He's the one with the wrinkles.
I'm the one with the wrinkled eyes. We modelled for them last year.
They made me taller than I am.
That's right, they did some fudging. He had to stand at an angle in front of me so that he would be taller.
I stood on a stool.
A little stool.
Back at the measuring mast at the Darß Ridge, there is another problem. The crossbeam of the crane is hitting the solar panels of the mast and threatens to damage them. But Frank has a plan.
I'll take you by boat. Get your tools.
And fast. Frank sums up the credo.
Don't rush, but hurry up.
Slowly, it's getting crowded in dinghy Lifty.
Thank you, my sweetie.
Careful.
The employees of the Institute for Baltic Sea Research Warnemünde get to work. That's how quickly office workers become real seahorses, and at least one of them enjoys the unforeseen challenges.
This also is my first action, my first major maintenance action on one of these stations. And it's also a bit of an exciting event for me. As we've seen, you can't plan everything in advance. We found out that the solar cells have to be dismantled, otherwise we won't be able to get the mast out. And then we also have to act quickly sometimes.
Yes, beautiful.
Looks better, right?
Yes, now I'm curious.
Yeah, me too.
Caution, excavator turns.
Now it gets serious. The first meters and the loosening of the base plate are crucial for the recovery process. Peter controls the rope crane with great sensitivity.
Now it is coming, you see? That's the effect when it sucks in.
The mast moves out of the water smoothly for the first few meters. In view of the dense muscle growth, it's hard to believe that it was cleaned only half a year ago to ensure that the sensors function properly. So here we go again. Before the mast can be put on board, it must be cleaned. But the further the mast is pulled out of the water, the heavier it becomes, and the cable crane now feels this. Frank gets nervous.
We always have more weight. It may be that there is water in it somewhere. We've reached the limit of the crane now. We have to see that we...
Empty.
There's nothing in there.
That's a buoyancy body.
This is empty.
It's empty.
I'm going crazy.
Nevertheless, the Baltic divers have to figure out how to reduce the weight. Otherwise, the salvage operation cannot proceed. First investigative step, unscrewing the valves on the mast.
That wasn't the one.
As expected, only a little water comes.
It has to come out. There's no other way. We have to see if we can get it closer. Keep on topping it up so that we can tickle out everything we have.
The cable crane can lift just over 20 tons. The measuring mast should actually only weigh 15.5 tons. Where does the extra weight come from?
The crane is at its limit.
The only chance? Clean the base plate from mud.
And that smells like shit. Come here. You can shoot it away, believe me.
I don't know why that is at the moment. What's there now might be a ton, if at all. Let's see now.
Okay, Peter.
Whether the weight relief is sufficient becomes apparent now.
Yes, you're coming up already. That's not good.
The 30-metre-long mast makes it on deck. Unfortunately, it is completely twisted. With the base plate, it is too heavy to be put down. The base plate, which weighs almost 7 tons, has to be unscrewed. The Baltic divers hope that this will give the cable crane more room to turn and lay down the mast.
Use the load. Try as much as you can. Lift a little and stop. Handle the swinging first. You see, it works. Perfect.
All right, tight.
Tighten.
The cable crane is finally working normally again with the almost 10-ton lighter load. Very carefully, the measuring mast is lowered centimetre by centimetre.
Come over a little to the right. Looking good.
Bei dir sieht gut aus.
Jetzt geht's. Jetzt kannst du ihn wegführen.
Okay, Ausleger runter.
It's a little skewed. Yes, here we go. 50 centimeters, 40, 30, 20, and stop, Peter. Hold everything like this.
With wooden pallets, the mast is now secured on deck, and the lattice mast is also lowered to the ground for the crossing. Frank is relieved, but also quite exhausted.
I feel like a goat. A little more, a little more. Sometimes one needs 3 arms. That's enough. I'm fed up. Let's call it a day. I'm hungry too.
Ich habe Hunger.
I'm absolutely relieved that the mast is now lying there as it is. It turned out that many things cannot be planned. We had to improvise, but the guys have enough experience.
schon einiges improvisiert werden, aber da haben die Jungs zum Glück alle genug Erfahrung, dass wir das auch gut geschafft haben.
We also have a top crew here. I have to emphasize that too. I'm pleased, yes.
The Baltic divers have made it. Within 7 grueling hours, the measuring mast, weighing several tons, was loaded on board in a team effort against all odds. Job done.